In our previous lesson, we developed an exam that had one test question with a lesson that had a passing score of 70 and an exam question that provided the 70 points necessary to pass the course. In this lesson, we're going to add a lesson status interaction to the end of our course to provide the student with additional information about their lesson status. The lesson status interaction can be used anywhere in your course, and it's especially useful if you have a very long course and you want to provide the student user with some feedback as to how they're doing. Now, in this lesson, we kept the score on all slides, but again, you may want to turn that off and use the lesson status interaction, especially if you're bouncing around a lot within your course doing hotspots for navigation of simulations or other elements like that. So with that, let's go ahead and select the lesson status interaction. We're going to hit the Go button under Create Interactions. There are instructions at the top that you can read through to try and understand how this thing works. But the basics are you have a statement that the student will receive when they get to the interaction that tells them to click to see how they did. Now you can word this however you want, whatever appropriate for the point in the course or lesson that they're at. And then based on that click, the system interaction, the lesson interaction, will go retrieve the information from the SCORM data model to provide the student with relative information about their progress. The variables that you can include are their name, their score, their time, and their status. Now in this case, the status isn't just the status of completed or passed or failed, but the status here is a string that you can provide the student to not only give them the information about their passed, failed, completed, not completed status, but also provide them additional direction based on that status. So maybe if they failed, you want them to try again. Maybe if they passed, you want them to exit the lesson or move on to a new lesson, etc. These are all options that are up to you. Now, at the bottom of the interaction development form, you have the ability to test the form in different modes based on lesson status. So you can see what it will say and look like for a completed, passed, incomplete, or failed message string. So these are all things that you can test before you put it into your lesson. You can always edit it just like the test item after you're done. So to get started here, we're going to set the background color for our lesson status indicator to something kind of neutral. In this case, we'll pick a dark purple. And with that dark purple, we'll use a light white font. And we're going to just leave the text the way it is as a default for now. And then on our pass message string, we're going to go ahead and set the background color for passed to a light green. And we're going to leave our font a dark black in this case. For our failed message string, we're going to use a light red. And again, you can make these whatever you want, whatever's appropriate for your course or your organization. And again, we'll leave the font at a dark black. For our completed message string, we're going to use something a little positive but yet neutral. Something like a light blue in this case might work to tell them that they've completed the lesson. And we'll also, for our not completed string, give them, well, let's go with something more of a warning yellow, yellowish, that they're not completed. We'll make that a very light color as well so that our black font shows up well on top of it. Okay, so now we've picked the colors for each of these. Let's go ahead and do a quick create test on this. And you can see we've got our purple with our white font, and under the completed status, they should come up with the blue with the black font and the completed message string. And there you have the completed message string. Well, that's not altogether all that useful, just the words completed message string. Those are there for you to edit so that you can give the student user information about what that status means and any additional direction you want to provide them. So let's start working through those real quick. On the past message string, let's be more positive. Let's say congratulations. You passed. You may now exit the lesson. Okay, so that'll be our pass message string. For our failed message string, we'll just say, you failed. Please retake the lesson. And again, I'm just adding things in here so you can see the context of how this works. You can have whatever messages at whatever length you want based on the status. And then for the completed lesson string, let's say you have completed this lesson. Please exit the course. So we can, say whatever we want for each of these. And for the not completed lesson string, we'll say you have not yet completed this lesson. Please continue. Okay, so again, these things can be whatever you need them to be, for the particular circumstance. And again, put it in context as to where you're placing it in the course. If they're not at the end of the course, you don't want to tell them they reached the end of this course. But in this case, this is the end of the course, so we're going to leave that in place. And again, you can create and test these. So let's go ahead and just test it against the past status. So we'll create and test. And they click it. Username, your score for this lesson is 70. Your time is, that's a dummy value. Congratulations, you passed. You may now exit the lesson. So you get the idea of how these will show up based on different lesson strings, and you can put whatever you need in there to to get the job done. Now, just like the test item, you can also position this on the screen. Again, I'm going to center it to keep it consistent with the rest of this lesson that we've put together so far. At this point, we're ready to copy this into our lesson. We've tested it, and we're in pretty good shape. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to put the cursor in our lesson where we want the status message to appear, and we're going to use the paste command, which is right-click paste or Control-V. And you can see it's been added to our lesson. If you decide that you need to change this for any reason, just click on it. It'll bring it back up. You can edit it. When you're done, you can hit the update button, or if you don't need to make any changes, just say done. And this will be saved back into the lesson. You can use as many of these throughout a lesson as you need to provide the student with feedback periodically, and they can be used with other elements on the same screen. So you could have something that is indicative of reaching the end of the course, or some other element that would make it obvious, to the student, why they're being provided with their lesson status at this point. Okay, so with that said, let's now go over and look at what that looks like to the user. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh our screen. We still have the exam question in here. I'm going to start from scratch, and we'll cancel out our bookmark. And first, let's go ahead and pass this. So in this one, we're going to do the final exam. What's the best e-learning authoring tool? KMxAuthor, correct. Remember, this one is worth 70 points. They've got their 70 points. We've already seen that. And it says you've now reached the end of the lesson. Let's click here to see how you did. And there you go. It pulls my name, my score, my total time out of the SCORM variables. It uses the SCORM pass variable to determine what the past message string should be. And it says I may now exit the lesson. Let's do one more quick test on this. We'll hit refresh. We'll go ahead and cancel. And this time we're going to fail the lesson. Notice the next shows up when I select an answer, allowing me to proceed. And again, I've reached the end of this lesson. Let's see how you did. And under this circumstance, I failed. My score is 0. I've spent a few more seconds on it than I had previously. I failed, and it's telling me to retake the lesson. So now you understand how the lesson status interaction works. And again, if the student happens to navigate back and forward to this and then re-hits it, it'll continue to update the time, or anything else that might change. If you've got opportunities for them to increase their score in order to pass or whatever, those things will be automatically updated by the lesson status indicator every time they re-hit the end of the course, or the lesson status screen. In this case, it's at the end of the course. So that's it for this interaction demonstration. I hope you take the time to read through those instructions and find this interaction useful. A lot of our customers have already started, leveraging it and making fairly long, statements with regard to each of the different types of lesson statuses that can be achieved to highlight the student's performance or lack thereof. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up and get ready for our next lesson, which hopefully will be out tomorrow.